Welcome back to another trade recap. Another solid day in the markets. Ended up trading SPX towards the downside. We'll break down the trade here in a bit, but super excited today since I did cross $100,000 month to date, which is super exciting. Let's head right on to the charts to show you guys exactly what trade I ended up taking today. Before we do that, let's first talk about my Tradezilla stats. I'm going to have a full breakdown here on the weekend for you guys. But before we do that, I'm just going to show you guys what my P&L looks like, at least for this week. I'm going to give you guys an updated P&L. As you can see, week number 2, pretty solid. You guys have already seen this. But as for this week in specific, absolutely fantastic week in the markets. Really made up of one trade here on AMD. I still have some trailers. I have not closed them out as of yet. So I still have about 10 contracts left on AMD. As long as it holds up, gonna hold them into tomorrow. They are expiring on the 23rd, so I'm gonna have to close the trade regardless, but hopefully we can get a little bit more out of the trailers. Potentially we have that push up and towards our higher time frame key levels and potentially our all-time highs. But this was really made up on AMD. So for $34,000 yesterday was my final P&L. And then I still have some trailers. As I mentioned, today I ended up trading SPX. So putting me up about $47,000 for this week. And as you can see, my monthly P&L right now is right above 100,000. We should get a little bit more on those AMD contracts that I close tomorrow. As for my P&L coming into today, I ended up taking SPX towards the downside. It was a previous day high break and retest for the downside. Actually not normally a setup that I look for, but there really wasn't too much in the markets today. But let's go over exactly what my thought process was coming into market open. So let me actually go on to the lower time frames. Let me go on to the replay mode. And let's go over the whole thought process coming to market open. So if you guys watched the pre-market prep this morning, I was primarily long bias here in the overall markets above your previous day high. So what I really wanted to see was really previous day high retest for continuation towards the upside. But you can see overall in the pre-market, we're actually retesting here in the pre-market. And we kind of had this nice pop up already in towards our daily gap fill. So for the SPY chart, the key levels that we have marked out, 690, along with that full gap fill that we created at the 691.50 for the QQQ. As you can see right here on the Qs, we actually already end up filling your gap. So what we just wanted to see was that retest off that previous day highs for that continuation towards the upside. If I go on to the pre-market game plan, as you can see, this is exactly what we're looking for coming into today. Previous day highs on both SPY and Qs. I'd like to see previous day high retest for continuation. And then I mentioned we had this kind of gap fill that we created over the weekend that we want to see kind of fill towards the downside. So that's what we had. And then of course I mentioned, right, semis are still going to be the main watch, right? AMD, MU, Intel, SNDK. Those ones actually dropped right off the bat. So there's no strength on those ones whatsoever. The names that were actually leading that had a pretty solid setup, Google and Meta, of course. So really coming to this market, as I mentioned, coming into today, I was leaning a little bit more towards the upside here on the overall indices on both SPY and the Qs. And really within the first 5 minutes, you can see the QQQ dropping right off the bat. SPY was kind of retesting, SPY was retesting this key level, which was that Friday's lows from January the 16th. So you can see QQQ really dropping down in towards that previous day highs within the first kind of 10 to 15 minutes here. And the rest of the names, there was no relative strength across the board. If we were to look at any other tech name during this exact time, right? Tesla was underneath previous day highs. Nvidia was underneath your previous day highs, right? AMD was underneath your previous day highs. All these names drop right off the bat. MU, pretty sharp drop right off the bat, right? Intel, similar kind of thesis, right? SNDK dropping right off the bat. So there was really no names that I was kind of interested in towards the upside, just because we're showing bearish price action intraday, even though the higher time frame was bullish. So for SPY, I was fairly neutral. I wasn't planning on taking any trades after the first kind of 10 to 15 minutes formed. But as you can see here for SPY, we actually are breaking underneath that previous day highs. And then of course the QQQ, we broke underneath its previous day highs here as well. So on SPY, you can see we kind of had that 5-minute range retest, but of course I was bullish, so I wasn't really trying to be that aggressive. But you can see SPY here had a pretty impulsive move towards the downside, right? Off that 5 minute range high, we're underneath our previous day highs here now as well. So for SPY, what we actually did have was a gap. So as you can see, we gapped up in the morning. We also kind of filled the gap that we created here on the weekend, and we started pushing lower. So for SPY, the tape was fairly bearish intraday. Sorry, what I was looking for was really the retest off our previous day highs for this potential continuation down in towards that full gap fill. So for the SPY chart, as you can see, price came back up. A little bit of rejection here right off that previous day highs. And then all I was waiting for was a weak candle closure. I actually didn't get the greatest entry. I wanted the entry as soon as it broke underneath. I got an entry fill closer to the low of the candle, which wasn't as optimal. But in this case, this is what my trade thesis looked like. Stop just a break above. Looking for that full gap fill, of course. In this case, we end up having that nice low of day, scaled along the ways, and of course kept scaling up down into that 10 o'clock. And then really after that, the market's just kind of consolidated. And then at this point in time, I only had 20% remaining. So I just ended up cutting the 20%. I think it was on this candle right here. So really not too much today. If we go into the SPX, you can see the overall trade thesis was fairly similar. It was off our previous day highs. What was I looking for? Previous day high retest towards the downside, looking for a potential gap fill. Of course, the best entry as soon as it broke underneath its previous candle. That would have been solid if I could have got the entry as soon as it broke underneath. Got an entry closer to the low of this candle, which was fine. And I was still looking for that previous day close. So super nice scalp, about 20% on the contracts. I only traded 10 contracts today just because didn't really like the setup as much. It was more of a mean reversion. If I got in a little bit of a nicer entry, I would have liked to have around 20 contracts, around like $28,000 position size. I only had 10 contracts, so lighter size. Only a $2,000 winner today here on SPX on the 0-day contracts. And yeah, that's about it for today. So fairly quick recap, at least for the overall market here now. Let's kind of talk about this on the higher time frame. So I am fairly bullish. I kind of talked about this. This was just strictly just a day trade. I'm higher time frame bullish on the overall markets, looking for major dips to get bought up. We actually reclaimed back above our previous day highs. So now you can see kind of nice trade back towards the upside on a little bit lower volume. But overall markets, they rise on lower volume. That's fairly bullish. So I'm fairly bullish here on the SPY and Qs. I still have AMD. So I'm maintaining AMD. I'd like to see it now just kind of push towards the upside, pre-market highs and potentially above, which is your 260. Those trailers, I only have 10 contracts, but those trailers, hopefully I'll hold them into tomorrow as long as it maintains market structure, and those will pay nicely. And yeah, that's about it. I do see quite a decent amount of swings kind of setting up. NVIDIA, kind of nice reclaim back above key levels. But there's a bunch of nice setups forming here in the markets. So we'll keep an eye out on that moving forward. I do like a lot of swings coming up here as well, just based off the higher time frames. Trump backed off on, of course, the Greenland tariffs. So now we are going to have a bullish bias in the overall markets. But let's kind of go over the live session and what we're looking for coming to market open. As you can see right off the bat, we had a bullish stance. A couple of trades I was interested in was NVIDIA above your previous day highs, but ultimately markets were showing weakness, no strength on NVIDIA. You can see we're looking for this reclaim, kind of similar trade to yesterday, but buyers were not able to step in. We're actually reclaiming now on the 5-minute chart for a nice push higher. As for QQQ, I was somewhat interested in this previous day high retest, but no buyer stepped in whatsoever. So during this time, once it broke underneath, that's when I flipped for a bearish bias intraday. And as you can see, SPY, I was keeping an eye on the SPY off your key level. In this case, I traded SPX, but basically this was my exact thesis. And as we play out the tape, I'll show you guys exactly what the entry I wanted compared to what I actually got. So right here, as you can see, SPY, I wanted the entry as soon as it broke underneath this candle low. It's a little bit too slow to it to react, but basically, as you can see, Q's retesting 620. SPY, I was looking for the rejection off of your previous day highs. All I was waiting for is weak price action. We could be looking to take this towards the downside. So as you can see right here, let's play out the tape right there. As soon as you can see there on SPY, I want to get an entry as soon as you see that weak price action. But you can see within a couple seconds, it's already showing very weak price action. So the entry wasn't as optimal on SPY. But basically, instead of getting that low risk entry closer to that 688, I got it closer to the close of the candle as this candle closed. But still super solid scalp towards the downside. Thesis was solid, looking just for low of day plus below. And we end up getting a nice move lower, about 30 to 40% on the 0 day contract. So that was super solid. I wish we could have got that flush down in towards that previous day close, but markets kind of stayed heavy coming into 10 o'clock here as well. We were cautious of a reversal just because the higher time frame was bullish. But that's basically it for me today. Super short trade recap, $2,000 on SPX. Really solid way to start off the month. We've been on, I think, 11-day green streak ever since we had that first day on the first day of the month, which was red. We've been trading very well after that, which is super solid. So let's keep the ball rolling, keep the momentum going. And yeah, with that being said, I'll see you guys all tomorrow. If you guys do enjoy these, appreciate if you guys drop a like. If you guys have any comments, drop them in below. If you guys haven't watched my course that I posted on my main channel, that was a super solid video. And we have more things coming. We'll keep you guys updated, and I'll see you guys all tomorrow. All right, take care, everyone. Peace.